Below, the frozen sky presents a cinematic description of survival against extreme cold, where human will meets the unforgiving power of nature. At dawn, a dense pine forest lies buried under deep snow, heavy fog drifting slowly between tall frozen trees, while a strong, icy wind shapes the surface of the snow into hard, rippled waves. The wilderness is untouched and hostile, cold blue light flattening every shadow as trees sway violently, branches creaking under the weight of ice. Snow blows sideways through the forest, and no human presence breaks the scale of nature until small silhouettes begin to emerge between the trees, barely visible through the snowfall. A group of workers move slowly forward, carrying tools and heavy packs, their bodies overwhelmed by the towering forest around them. Heavy winter boots step into deep snow, compressing ice beneath their weight, snow spraying outward with each step. Every movement grounded and deliberate. Axes, ropes, saws, and metal tools are strapped to their backs, frost forming on steel edges as they clank softly with each step. One worker exhales into the freezing air, thick vapor filling the frame as ice forms on his beard and eyelashes, his skin red and burned by wind. Focused eyes scan the forest, snow reflected in their pupils, cautious and calculating. The group stops in a small clearing as the storm swirls around them, bodies clustering tightly against the wind, isolation pressing in from all sides. An older, experienced worker steps slightly ahead, his darker, heavier coat flapping in the wind. Posture calm and confident. A gloved hand rises slowly in a silent signal to stop, and everyone freezes in place, boots half buried, coats fluttering lightly as snow continues to fall. From the leader's perspective, tree spacing, snow depth, slope, and wind direction are assessed in silence. A heavy steel axe strikes down into snow-covered ground, biting into frozen soil. Snow and ice bursting upward as the blade remains embedded. Una moving. The workers stand close together in falling snow, faces of different ages marked by cold. Ice clinging to eyebrows and facial hair, eyes steady and focused. Around them, the vast snowy forest seems to observe their presence. Deep within the forest, a huge ancient pine tree towers skyward, its massive frozen trunk dominating the clearing. One worker studies it from the base, looking up for dead branches, while another clears snow and brush around the trunk. A chainsaw cuts horizontally into the bark at waist height, wood chips spraying outward as cold breath clouds the air. The saw tilts downward to complete the face notch, exposing fresh wood, then moves to the opposite side to cut carefully, leaving a thin hinge. Cracks appear, snow falls from branches, and the chainsaw is pulled back and silenced. The tree begins to shift, then falls fully, crashing into the snow with a massive burst of debris. When the forest settles, the fallen tree lies across the snow, and the workers stand at a distance, catching their breath as the wind moves gently through the tree. Dark clouds roll in, light growing colder and dimmer as wind increases and snow begins to fall heavier. A chainsaw sputters and dies, ice clinging to its casing, frustration controlled and silent. The workers gather in falling snow, exchanging brief nods in wordless agreement. An axe is lifted and tested against the air as wind gusts bend branches and visibility drops. Despite worsening conditions, they work steadily around the fallen giant, keeping distance, moving with quiet determination as snow piles on shoulders and tools. A freshly cut pine log lies half buried, too heavy to lift. only able to roll or drag. A rope is looped around it, knots tightened with gloved hands, a wooden pole planted beneath as a lever. The log shifts slowly as workers pull and brace, boots digging into snow, breath rising thick and white. A hand signal is given, nods exchanged, and they pull again in unison. The log carving a deep track through packed snow as it moves steadily forward. Hands gripping the rope are cracked and reddened, frost clinging to knuckles as tiny traces of blood freeze in the skin. At one moment, a worker slips on ice, dropping to one knee as the rope snaps tight. The log scrapes only inches, never lifting, always grounded, while others stop its movement with rope and pole. One worker warms his fingers with breath, frost softening but not melting, then grips again and leans forward without hesitation. Steel shovels strike frozen ground and rebound with sharp metallic rings, removing only thin layers at a time. A digging bar is driven down hard, stopping short with a dull thud, frozen earth refusing to yield. Slowly, shallow holes form, dark soil exposed but solid and dense. Cant hooks bite into the massive log, and with controlled effort it rolls under its own weight, compressing snow beneath it.
Shadows drift along the snow, marks of everywhere we go. Bridges built from long ago, timeless as the sky we know. Forward now, the journey calls.
The log settles into place on foundation stones, snow shaking loose from nearby branches. The workers stand silently around it, no celebration, only recognition. It is the first undeniable line of a house. The sky darkens as wind builds, pushing snow low across the ground. Snow drives diagonally, visibility softening as the workers brace and communicate with short gestures. One worker stands on the partially built wall, only a few feet above the ground, logs slick with ice. His boot slips slightly, body tilting back, and another worker lunges instantly, gripping his forearm and holding him steady. They strain together in silence, breath bursting into the cold air until footing is regained. Eye contact is brief, understanding unspoken, and work resumes as snow continues to drive side.
With every note and every line, we rise together intertwined.
Dusk deepens into night. A match flares and lights a lantern, warm yellow glow pushing back the cold blue darkness. Lanterns, the worksite, casting small pools of light, while the forest beyond disappears into black. Snowflakes drift through the glow and vanish. The workers move in and out of light, faces half seen, movements slower and more economical. One sits briefly on a snow-dusted log, shoulders sagging, then stands and returns to work. Fatigue shows in trembling hands and careful pauses, but discipline prevents mistakes. Lantern light grows dimmer as time stretches on, the night unbroken.
Every moment shining bright, unity in every light.
Wind catches it, causing a dangerous sway, but guide ropes redirect its movement. Short, precise shouts cut through the wind as tension is adjusted. With a final, controlled pull, the beam drops into its notch with a heavy wooden thud. Ropes are released slowly, snow drifting down through lantern light. The cabin's shape is now clear. Wind surges again, driving snow through gaps.
Every tricard beneath the open sky. Here our journey forms anew.
Logs creaking but holding. The structure absorbs the force through weight and interlock. When the wind settles, the workers brush snow from joints and continue calmly. Nature tests the cabin and moves on.
We gather where the north winds blow. Memories glimmer as they grow. In scenes that only we will.
A massive roof beam is lifted with ropes and pulleys, scraping free of snow inch by inch.
Dreams reflected in the white. Every moment shining bright, unity in every light. Below the frozen sky tonight, we find our echo shining high. Through the calm, the day unfolds. A channel endless stories told. In harmonies both warm and cold. Song and silence pure and bold. Shadows drift along the snow, marks of everywhere we go. Bridges built from long ago, timeless as the sky we know. Forward now the journey calls, a promise made while evening falls. Underneath these icy halls, our vision stands, it never stalls. Echoes of hope, the winds reply, unbroken spirit reaching high beneath the vast.
Dawn finally breaks through thinning clouds, pale gold light spreading across the snow. The cabin stands complete, roof finished, walls aligned, windows clear. One controlled hammer strike rings through the quiet forest. The workers stand facing the cabin in silence as warm light glows from inside, and a thin line of smoke rises gently from the chimney. Wind calms, snow drifts lightly, and the vast forest stands silent around the finished cabin. A cleared path leads from the door, benches sit quietly in the snow, and a low stone fire pit burns steadily, sparks lifting briefly before vanishing into the cold air. The cabin stands grounded and enduring in the frozen wilderness.
This is the start of life, and not the end.
With every note and